So, this is Vita Carnis. It's an analog horror series on YouTube. I love analog horror, and I also love like Wendigoon and Meat Canyon as well. I watch their podcast. It's pretty sick. But you guys let me know what you think. We're just going to jump right into this. Classified material.
On planet Earth, life has thrived for millions of years. Creatures big and small have found ways to adapt and evolve to flourish in all types of environments. From barren wastes to lush forests, life can be found. Earth has homed these creatures since the dawn of life itself. Only until very recently, things have changed. New life forms have appeared all around the globe and completely changing the balance of nature and what we know about evolution itself. That is why we, at National Living Meat Research, have been studying these new species.
National Living Meat Research, huh? Interesting. Would you guys eat from a place called National Living Meat Research? Because I don't think I would. Another thing too is what it was saying in the beginning, life thrives. That's very true. Life finds a way. Survival of the fittest, right?
Trying to help educate everyone about these creatures and their wondrous ways of life. First, what are these new life forms? Since their explosive arrival across the globe in 1931, there has been much debate on what these newcomers are and where they came from. Are they extraterrestrials coming to invade Earth? Or are they demons who come from hell to purge humanity? From what our scientists have discovered, no. The origins of these creatures are solely to Earth, miraculously out of nowhere. We don't know why or how, but one thing is for certain, Earth is now their home. What these creatures are is mysterious and still not well known today.
Interesting. So they didn't come from outer space. They're not some demonic entity. They came from the planet itself, which makes me think that they must have been trapped underground somewhere. Possibly like deep ocean, maybe. But very interesting. I wonder what caused them to emerge.
But here is what we do know. These creatures are comprised mainly of muscle tissue, organs, and bones. They greatly resemble animals with no skin, or store-bought meat. Because of these characteristics, they have been named accordingly as Vita Carnis. The Carnis species consume decaying, organic matter, but their main diet is composed of raw meat, not including their Carnis relatives. The Carnis only appear in places where there is an abundance of crawl, which leads to the first creature of the Carnis species, the crawl. The crawl is a growth of meaty tendrils that closely resemble the small intestine, the only difference being the dark red coloration. These tendrils grow in a similar pattern as vines, mold, or fungi. A primary stem structure is the host to divisions of other, smaller branches. In each tendril contains a variety of veins, arteries, and other similar organs used to transport nutrients absorbed from its surroundings. The ends of these tendrils are equipped with organelles used to absorb water and organic matter necessary for growth.
Interesting. So it grows like a plant, but it seems to act more like a fungus, like mycelium. Mycelium will branch out and strictly devour like dying material. It'll dissolve it, and then it will eat it afterwards, absorb whatever dissolved stuff's going on. It's the same as like us eating food. It's just it does it externally, we do it internally. We eat food, our stomach acid dissolves it into base nutrients, and then our body absorbs those nutrients. This, just like mycelium, kind of dissolves the decaying material on the ground and then absorbs it. Interesting.
The source of these organic materials is mainly found in dirt and soil on surrounding surfaces. Using its root-like tendrils, it absorbs the material and processes it into usable energy. Although, the crawl also obtains energy through another means. Using a sophisticated form of photosynthesis, The dark pigmentation of the smaller branches is ideal for absorbing sunlight, and therefore allowing solar energy to fuel the crawl's growth. Because of its efficiency, it thrives in almost all types of environments, easily allowing it to spread across the world, and can be found pretty much anywhere. Its recent inclusion in the ecosystem has caused many major changes in nature's balance. One may assume that the crawl's presence may outcompete any other competitors, but due to its unique life cycle, where old branches fall off and decay into nutrient-rich compost, all forms of life seemingly flourish instead. The crawl's abundance grants plenty of nourishment to all animals, from plants feeding on the decayed crawl, herbivores thriving on increased plant population, and carnivores feeding on both the abundant prey, and are able to eat the crawl as well.
See, that is concerning because the only reason things evolve to be eaten, I mean, plants are a really good example of this, but the only reason things evolve to be eaten is so they can, because there's always a purpose, right? If the crawl's evolving to be eaten by basically every organism on the planet, there's got to be a reason why. It's got to help it reproduce something. It may just want, inside the animal or organism. But that also means, like, it reminds me of those mushrooms from the, I forget what series it was, but the very popular series. Reminds me of those mushrooms that basically infect the host and take over its entire system, its nervous system, and then causes it to go out and do things it normally wouldn't do.
The presence of all these animals leave behind waste, which will be broken down and consumed by the crawl, and the cycle begins again. This form of symbiosis leads to an environment where all populations thrive. Humanity also uses the crawl to our advantage. Because of the supernatural rate of growth and its richness in nutrients, it has been sustainably cultivated into domestic farms. The crawl is harvested and processed into fertilizer, which greatly increases crop yield and quality. The crawl may also be used as a food source for humans, and reliably so. But due to its unkindly appearance and taste, it has yet to reach cuisine standards. The crawl also plays a very important role in the next creatures that we have been studying.
Now that's very interesting. Seems like humanity figured out a use for it, but it's also so new. I mean, 1930s, is almost 100 years ago today, but at the same time, that's still pretty new for an organism to enter an ecosystem and then basically completely take over that ecosystem. Another organism that's very similar to the rate at which this organism is successful is cats. Actually, cats are like biological disasters. If you introduce cats to a new area, they will basically take over the entire area. It's wild.
Cuisine standards. The crawl also plays a very important role in the next creatures that we have been studying. Sometimes, in a crawl-populated environment, a node of meat may develop on one of the branches. This node will fall off and grow into a functioning organism, and go to live on as an independent animal. This leads us to the upcoming species that we will be discussing. The first of these creatures are the trimmings.
Okay, hold on. So this thing starts out basically as a plant or type of fungus, and it proceeds to hatch creatures that are basically more complex and can move around and everything. This would be the equivalent of like walking through the forest and you find a big mushroom with a big pod on it, and then all of a sudden that pod opens up and basically a little baby human starts walking out of it. That would be the equivalent. It's unlike anything on our planet right now. That's wild. Ooh, what was that?
The first of these creatures are the trimmings.
Missed it. Just missed it. Let's see if I can. About 0.5. I don't want
Creatures
this thing.
are the trimmings. Creatures
Try this
are
100 times, but
the
also don't wanna miss that.
trimmings.
There we go. I think that says once upon a time, and then there's looks like a king, a queen, and a prince. I can't read any of this, unfortunately, but symbolism wise, king, queen, prince. We'll have to remember that going forward. Darian, I'm not going to say the last name because I might butcher it. Very interesting series so far. We'll go ahead and go to episode 2 now.
The trimmings.
The trimmings.
Trimmings are small animals that resemble skinned raccoons. They are
Nope. Those things look awful. 100% would be hunting those for sure.
commonly known to have a plump body, round head, small eyes, nose and ear holes,
They kind
and
of
an
look like
agape
grubs.
mouth. They are also equipped with a diversity of limbs. All individual trimmings are unique, each with a different body shape, number of limbs, and other characteristics. One thing they all share in common is that they are made mostly of meat tissue, and are a maximum of 20 centimeters in length, no larger than a basketball. Its life starts with its separation from the crawl. It will wonder to find anything that is edible and able to consume. Although it is an omnivore, being able to hunt meat and forage for plant matter, trimmings are almost entirely scavengers. Their diet consists of rotting plants and meat, including, but not limited to, fruits, vegetables, roots, seeds, insects, and deceased animals. Although its appearance is unsightly, it is a cowardly creature, only fleeing, screeching, and hiding when threatened.
This is interesting because if you think about where it came from basically a plant / mushroom hybrid thing. And now it seems like it has like almost a consciousness, right? It definitely throws into question whether or not the base first level, the first stage of the evolution of these creatures, if those things are conscious at all. Like, we don't consider plants conscious, but they definitely have some kind of perception. There's studies out there that even show that plants can figure out if something's near them. I might pull those studies up at some point on stream, but there's studies out there that can, basically shows that plants understand there's stuff near them. There's actually a plant that I think it's found in the rainforest. But if it attaches itself to a tree, and it will mimic the leaves of that tree, but basically be a parasite for that tree and look like the tree as well. Scientists went and they put this same plant on a fake one, like just a artificial plastic plant, and it still mimicked the leaves. And that means that the plant itself has some way of perceiving what the leaves look like, which is very interesting. Plants being able to see is very weird. And it makes you think about when the next time you're walking through a forest, like, what are you really, like, what's really looking at you right now? Because the trees themselves may be looking at you.
Because of its lack of defensive traits, it lies near the bottom of the food chain, making it easily overpowered and picked off very regularly by predators. Naturally, its population would eventually die out, but this is not the case. The crawl constantly produces a large quantity of trimming nodes, keeping up their numbers. Naturally, trimmings can be found wherever there is abundant crawl.
I don't think there's another species on the planet right now that has this wide of an area. Possibly cats. I think cats are probably found in almost every area of the world. besides really cold Arctic areas. And even then, sometimes there's still not plants, but cats there. Like if you get up near the Siberia area, there's usually like, different types of big cats up there. Even in the Rocky Mountains where it gets really cold, there's even like, there's like cougars and bobcats. There's bobcats and Arctic lynxes, I think they're called, in the cold area too. I think cats are the only other species that is even close to having this much coverage on the planet.
Trimmings grow at a decent pace, reaching maturity at around 7 months, having a maximum lifespan of 2 to 4 years. Although they are plentiful, humanity has no proper way to implement trimmings into society. Their overabundance has even considered them pests, due to them digging through trash bins and making excessive noise at night. Besides all of this, some people still keep trimmings as pets, and
No shot. No shot would I keep something like this as a pet. Are you crazy? Here, would you guys keep one of these things as a pet? They're not cute at all. They look awful. They look like something from hell itself, to be honest. No shot I would keep these things as pets. What?
relatively domesticate them. Nuisance or not, trimmings are a wondrous creature. From their plentiful numbers to their skittish nature, they are truly a thing to behold.
I disagree.
The next species on our list is...
Are there any animals you guys would want to go extinct? Because there is one for sure I think of all the time that I would, if I had the ability, just like Thanos, snap my fingers to get rid of, and that would be mosquitoes. I would get rid of mosquitoes so fast. I understand it may have a big impact on the larger ecosystem, but 100% don't care. I would get rid of mosquitoes. They carry diseases, they're a nuisance, and all they do is like feed off of other animals. Like getting rid of mosquitoes quick.
The meat snake.
The meat snake sounds awful, to be honest.
The meat snake. The meat snake is a worm-like creature, made of a variety of types of meat, coated in a transparent, skin-like membrane. Its size varies during its lifespan, depending on how much it consumes. When it first separates from the crawl, it is only a few centimeters in length. Eventually, it will reach an average length of 5 meters. Although, under extreme conditions, like natural disasters, war, or plague, it can greatly surpass this length. The meat...
So it grows larger when other creatures are basically suffering. That's very interesting. Even during natural disasters. I mean, a plague you could see... I mean, maybe natural disasters you could see it too, but a plague you might be able to understand why a creature might start to, rapidly adapt to it. There's what's those creatures called? You guys know grasshoppers, right? Just your regular old grasshoppers. Well, if food abundance is like low and grasshoppers start, thinking that there's not enough food to go around, then they become locusts. And when they become locusts, they become ravenous. They become way bigger, they adapt, and they just start becoming huge swarms, and they just start going through and eating everything they can find. This seems like it has almost a similar ability. Like whenever it's, threatened, whenever it's under distress, it seems to basically evolve in a way to, get through it.
Snake's diet consists entirely of dead animals or parts. A meat snake is incapable of consuming a healthy, living organism. The meat snake allocates its food by using a tongue-like organ covered in sensors to touch and feel its environment. The sensors catch particles of decaying meat, notifying the meat snake that there is food nearby. This process shares many similarities to regular snakes, hence the meat snake's name. Once it locates the corpse, the meat snake will open its jaw and swallow the entire body whole. Once the entire body is consumed, the meat snake's stomach will release a variety of chemicals. Some will break down soft tissue like skin and the connection points between muscles. Others chemicals will then ferment and preserve the tissue to keep it from breaking down for as long as possible. After that, the remaining flesh and bones will move along the meat snake's tract and slowly be implemented into its own structure, extending the meat snake. Unsatisfactory parts like skulls, pelvises, hair, and fingernails will be excreted. Speaking of skulls, the meat snake will take the skull from the consumed organism and use it as its own. Each meat snake has its own skull, each corresponding to what that one has consumed. During its lifespan, it will swap or replace these skulls if needed. A meat snake's lifespan depends entirely on how much a meat snake consumes. The longest one has lived for was 28 years.
28 years is crazy, chat. That's crazy. 28 years. And it also replaces its skull with other skulls. Could you imagine going through the forest and you see a meat snake that has like a deer skull? Man, that's like some Wendigo stuff, honestly. And then on top of that, the more scary one would be finding a meat snake that has like a human skull. That one would be horrific. I wonder if people are domesticating these ones. You think so? Although people probably domesticate all kinds of animals, I feel like people would definitely domesticate these ones.
The meat snake has no predators and is immune to disease due to its preserving chemicals. The only significant ways a meat snake can die is through starvation, burning, or complete destruction of the meat snake's membrane coating. Interestingly, the meat snake is the only member of the Carnis family.
Hold on. That is way bigger than I thought we were talking here. Look at that thing. That thing would devour. I'm glad it doesn't eat living tissue because, oh my God. No. Humanity is really good at one thing, and that's making things go extinct. And if these things existed, I feel like we would be trying to make them go extinct quick. Because, oh my God.
Family that is able to reproduce. When a meat snake reaches an excessive size, and is in the conditions to do so, it will commence mitosis, splitting itself in two. Then the now two meat snakes will go on their separate ways and live on as two distinct organisms. Meat snakes can only be found in moderate temperature climates, not too hot, not too cold.
So it doesn't have to reproduce normally either. It basically splits itself like a worm does. If you cut a worm in half, most of the time, not all worms obviously, but most of the time, those two pieces you have now become their own individual organisms, and they start living on their own. The meat snake seems to have a similar ability. I'm glad they can't be found in, colder or too hot, in the extreme environments. Because if these things did exist, I would so be living somewhere like Alaska or something to stay away from them. God.
Their population depends entirely on the amount of corpses available. Where there is death, there are meat snakes. Humanity will use them to our advantage. Meat snakes are a very efficient and clean way of disposing of any meat products. The preserving fluid within the meat snake's body disinfects the carrion, preventing the spread of disease. Humans use meat snakes in butcher shops as a waste bin, dispose roadkill, within war on the battlefield to dispose of festering bodies and parts, and within zoos to dispose of deceased animals. They are extremely tame, not caring if any creature is around them, only acting defensively when it is within consuming a meal. This means they are very easy to tame. Overall, meat snakes are a marvelous creature with a very interesting way of sustaining itself. It is an amazing experience to encounter one, as long as you don't mind the smell.
An amazingly horrible experience? What do you mean? No shot I would be going to any place that has these as disposable, things. No shot. I wouldn't be using these as trash cans. I wouldn't be using these for anything. I would just continue the way we have been and bury dead things or, burn dead things. No shot I would ever use these as a form of waste disposal. No shot.
Our next creature is the mimic.
Okay, no. No, 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 no. Mimics are not happening. No shot. Loving this series so far, by the way.
The mimic. The mimic is a bipedal creature with uncanny similarities to humanoid anatomy. They greatly resemble humans without skin, with added exaggerated features. These features include extended finger length, longer limbs, bulging, empty eyes, and their most prominent feature, a wide, teeth-filled smile.
That's basically Wendigo, guys. No shot. I wonder if these appeared the same time the crawl did, or if they evolved later. Because if we could figure that out, we would know that the crawl, depending on the nutrients it's getting, like let's say it comes across a human dead body or whatever, it means it's taking, evolutionary, it's adapting to the food it's eating, which means this mimic would have came from the bodies of other humans.
Although it resembles a happy face, this is due to coincidence, and is only how their facial structure is shaped. The maw of the mimic contains much more teeth than humans, and their teeth is comprised almost entirely of incisors, with some canine and premolars in the back. This tooth composition is ideal for biting down onto meat, and swallowing chunks whole. A mature mimic's diet is comprised entirely of human flesh.
What do you mean? Guys, we would be trying to make these things go extinct so fast. This would be terrifying. There's no more, you're not going camping with these things out there. No one in the right mind would. I wonder how hard they are to, kill. It's solely evolved to eat us.
Because of this, they are found solely around human-populated areas. The mimic's life cycle is made of 3 stages. In the first stage, a young mimic separates from the crawl. They closely resemble their trimming relatives, but are thin, sleek, and only have 4 appendages. In this stage, the young mimic will hunt small animals, moving on to larger and larger as they grow. Once large enough, it will begin metamorphosis into the next stage of life. Once fully transformed, it will resemble the description mentioned in the beginning. Its hunting style changes and becomes much more complicated. It now stalks and feeds only on humans. It will locate human-populated area and begin its search for an easy target. To blend in, it may use objects to conceal itself. These include clothing, mannequins, and furniture.
So it's not just a creature that hunts humans, it's a smart creature that hunts humans. What? It has the intelligence to act like us and pretend to be us in order to hunt us? That is truly terrifying.
Once a target has been found, the mimic will observe its prey and learn its routine and when it is most vulnerable. This is typically when the human is asleep at night. Once the prey is within position, the mimic will advance silently until it is close enough. The mimic will then execute and immediately begin consumption. Once the mimic has had its fill, it will leave the scene, a fair distance away from the human population, and begin to digest its meal. Although, in the case that a human is awake, a mimic will use a variety of sounds to either lure or startle prey into cornering them.
So it can trick you too? That's crazy. It can mimic speech? No shot, Chad. No shot.
Themselves. Once a human is in place, it will swiftly attack and kill the helpless target.
I would so be strapped right here. No shot, guys. No shot. Ooh, nope. Oh my god, look at the eyes. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but if I know like this is my time, something's about to kill me, I am going out hard as possible. I would bite those fingers. I would gouge out eyes. I don't care. I'll do anything and everything to try to survive. But oh my god.
The next stage of the mimic's life cycle has two potential morphs it may develop into. If a mimic has a consistent supply of food, it will develop more human-like features. It will grow skin, hair, and by the end will look nearly identical to a human being. It now can blend entirely into civilization and lure other humans more effectively. The second type of morph happens when a mimic receives an overabundance of food. It will grow into a larger, more evolved hunter. Its proportions will increase in length, and its humanoid features will fade away. It grows a thick, dark coating of a flexible skin, which is highly durable, and increases in strength the more the elder mimic consumes. This excludes the face, which is now coated in a pale pink skin. The mimic's teeth have also moved deeper into the mimic's throat, leaving its mouth a toothless grin. It uses the dark hue of its skin to hide seamlessly within a dark environment. Its skills have also been heightened. This makes an elder mimic one of the most efficient predators on the planet.
Nope.
Because of the obvious threat this poses on humanity, nations around the world have released instructions on how to be able to fend for yourself in a mimic encounter. Here are the instructions.
1. Avoid going out alone if your location is known to have mimics, or there have been mimic sightings. 2. If you encounter a stationary mimic, seemingly unfazed by your presence, quietly leave the location and alert your local authorities. 3. If pursued by a mimic, get yourself into a position where you are able to flee. Mimics will rarely attack if a person has a clear escape route. 4. In the event that you have been cornered by a mimic, roll into the fetal position, protecting your neck, face, and vital organs from attack. Make as much noise as you can to alert any other people. 5. If you have a weapon, do not use it. A mimic is fairly resilient, and any strikes or shots on a mimic is not effective enough to bring it down.
Okay, hold on. This is like the bear situation, okay? They say that if you encounter a black bear, get really big and loud and try to scare it off. If you encounter a brown bear, they say to get into the fetal position and, hope it'll leave you alone. The thing is that if you get into a fetal position with a brown bear, the only reason a brown bear is attacking you realistically is there's two reasons, right? One is because it has cubs nearby. Well, really three reasons. One is because it has cubs nearby. It's worried you're going to hurt its cubs. So it attacks you and it tries to basically make you leave the area. Two is it's territorial and it may be like mating season or something like that. And its goal is to basically scare you off as well. But the third reason is because it's hungry and it's going to eat you. Getting down in the fetal position is almost never a good idea because out of all three of those attacks, the most common one is going to be the territorial one, but there's always a chance it's going to be the third one, which is eating you. So you should always just fight back, in my opinion. You're probably going to lose, but better to fight back and die like that than to just curl up in a ball and let it slowly eat you. So, yeah. Fight back every time, guys. Fight back every time.
in time. Instead, use it as a barrier between you and the mimic to block any attacks. 6. In a situation where a mimic is hunting in the immediate area and is not aware of your position, hide somewhere low, like under a bed or behind other furniture. A mimic will not linger too long to search for prey, and will move on.
Be safe, and avoid any encounters with a mimic at all costs.
Another thing too is that it said that weapons don't work against it. I don't care what animal you are, right? I don't care what kind of creature you are. The way I look at it, and I apply the same logic to Wendigos as well, if it bleeds, it can die. And that just means if low caliber fire doesn't work on it, you just need higher caliber fire, guys. Okay? Go from like a 9mm up to like a 45. And then from there, if that's still not working, get even bigger. It will die if it gets hit enough. I don't care what animal it is. Like I said, if it bleeds, it can die. Okay?
Next up, the Harvester.
Harvester sounds like Nightmare Fuel as well. Darian, I'm loving the series so far. This is awesome. We'll do one more episode, and then we'll start playing some itch.io games.
The Harvester. The Harvester is a large, bulbous mass, with a large amount of tendrils spreading from the base. The bulb measures around 3 meters in height and 2 meters in diameter.
That's huge.
The tendrils, on the other hand, can extend up to 150 meters in diameter horizontally.
Jesus.
The Harvester is a specialized form of crawl that grows in a unique and deadly way. A harvester is created when a node, that will grow into a harvester, instead of separating, continues to grow. Eventually, it will grow tendrils of its own. It uses the energy provided by its mother branch and expands its reach further. Its tendrils, hidden just below the surface of the ground. The harvester is equipped with 2 types of specialized tendrils. The first type is bulky and flat. They lie the closest to the surface. These branches are lined on each length of the tendril with spines, extending in the shape of a bear trap. On each side of the branch, those particular spines have a vein that feed into them, that pump 2 types of venom. On one side, the spines can inject a neurotoxin, which will attack the nervous system of whomever it is injected into, causing sudden paralysis. The other side can inject an anticoagulant, which when injected, prevents blood cells from clotting. Whenever a large animal moves across the area armed...
It's like the ultimate mix of like evolutionary traits. Okay, so like it acts like a plant, can absorb sunlight and eat, right? That's the first stage it gets. Then it, grows legs. It can run around and basically interact with the environment. Third stage is the mimic, which in this case will specifically hunt things, which is terrifying on its own. And then this stage acts almost like there's the world's largest organism, I believe, is a huge subterranean mass of mycelium. It controls the entire forest that grows around it. If it wants certain trees to die, it'll stop providing nutrients to those trees. If it wants certain plants to thrive, it'll give them more nutrients. And it basically acts like a, almost like a supervisor of the forest, right? It allows things to grow, it allows things to die, and it chooses when these things happen. This is very similar. It seems to just kind of, but it also has like attributes like a snake or a venomous creature has. It can paralyze you, stop you from coagulating. Terrifying.
With these tendrils, the branches will clamp onto the animal and thrash violently. Once the prey has been injected with both venoms, the tendrils will rest and the prey will immediately collapse. The animal will be unable to move due to the paralysis, and the wounds caused by the thrashing spines will not stop bleeding. All the prey can do is lie patiently, until succumbing to blood loss. Once the prey has bled out, the second type of tendrils come in. They lie below the spine equipped once. These branches are thick, but very sturdy. They share similar anatomy to the small branches of the crawl, equipped with organelle that absorbs nutrients. These tendrils sense the blood, and move their way to the surface and begin to absorb the vital fluid. Once the blood has been consumed, the tendrils will wrap around the body and begin to shuffle downwards. This movement loosens the soil and slowly pull the body underground.
You wouldn't even know that you're in an area with this thing unless you saw the bulb itself. And then by the time you see the bulb, it's probably already too late. You're probably already in the area it's already existing in. I mean, imagine you're just hiking along and you accidentally step in like a hole or something, and then all of a sudden you feel two sharp stings, and you look down just to see that these two tendrils have wrapped around you and are gripping you. It would be terrifying. Nightmare fuel at its highest degree, because you know you're about to pass out. You know you're about to be not even pass out. You know you're about to be paralyzed, and you're about to bleed out, and there's nothing you can do. Especially if you're alone. But even if you have people with you, what are they supposed to do either? I'm telling you, burn it all with fire.
Once secure, the tendrils will continue to feed until there is nothing but scraps. The nourishment absorbed by the tendrils will be sucked back into the main bulb of the harvester. This bulb houses all the vital organs and the venom glands that pump into the spines. The nutrients are then converted into usable energy. The remains underground decompose, providing a rich soil, causing very prominent plant growth, which then attracts more animals.
And that extra plant growth probably hides even more of the spines and stuff too. Imagine you're walking through what you think is a really lush forest filled with like really thick vegetation, and then something stabs you in the leg, and all of a sudden it's over. You got, right? This actually reminds me of people have a theory about plants, and the theory is that plants actually are farming us. Plants aren't farming, we aren't farming plants. Instead, plants are actually farming us. Basically, plants understand that they have stuff that we like fruits, veggies, all that. And they produce those things so we keep making them reproduce. But then once we die, right, they basically eat all the nutrients that are left over. It's a very interesting little theory.
Strange behavior the harvester displays as its choice of diet. The spines will only activate on larger animals, allowing smaller ones to pass by unaffected. The spines will also not activate on some species of bird. There are a couple theories as to why this happens. One, it could be that attacking smaller animals would cost too much energy for what they get in return, making it not worth the time. Another could be that smaller animals may attract larger animals or predators, allowing a safe place where prey may thrive and lure more predators. It truly is astonishing. Although it is a spectacular creature, it is also very dangerous. The harvester is decently rare, only populating sparse areas in the northern hemisphere and woodland forests.
There's nothing in Australia. So far, I may just move to Australia and live real deep into the outback area, because so far that's the only area with the least amount of crawl species so far.
If you are stung by a harvester, there will be no way of helping you, being that there is no cure, and fatality is 100% positive.
What was that?
There is no cure, and fatality is 100% positive.
I want to see that. Sorry guys, but I've got to check. Speed 0.5. Let's go back.
Fatality is 100% positive. 100% possible.
Family attacked by... Oh, man. Family attacked by, and then a whole bunch of authorities refuse to handle the harvester. Yeah, I mean, what are you going to do here? Especially because it seems to reproduce very quickly thanks to the crawl itself, the first stage. I mean, the only way it seems like to get rid of this stuff is by burning it. You would just have to burn entire ecosystems to get rid of it, which in turn would have disastrous effects on, every other organism. Let's see. It also says only putting up warning signs and let's say something the public to be more careful. It says more careful. Gotta switch the speed back.
The best thing you can do is avoid encountering a harvester in the first place. If you are hiking, take note of any warnings or signs saying that there are harvesters around. If you also notice an abundance of lush, ground-dwelling plants in a forested area, and there are no signs of wildlife, this is suspicious and you should leave the area, staying close to the base of large trees or rocks. If you find yourself in the middle of a harvester ground, do not panic. Sudden movements may activate the tendrils and will inject you. Although a harvester is rather forgiving, do not risk any skittish movements. Remain calm. If you have any objects with considerable heft, like coats, backpacks, or full water bottles, gently take that object and lightly toss it towards the bulb, and away from your escape route. This will activate the spines on where the object lands, distracting the bulb for a moment. You will then slowly begin to do wide shuffles away from the bulb. If possible, throw another object when you are certain you are a fair enough distance away, just to be safe. Continue until you are completely sure you are out of harm's way. You may come out unscathed, but don't be too obnoxious, or you will be a harvester's next meal. Next up is the host.
The host sounds very interesting, but we're going to stop the series here for now. If you guys want me to watch some more, just let me know. Thank you for watching. I really hope you enjoyed my reaction to this. I love analog horror, and this is definitely hitting that itch I have. Let me know if you guys want me to watch other analog horrors after this one. I'll definitely be continuing the series regardless, because it's really good so far.